Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the both Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel and the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel that you're listening to right now. And we are working with the WCW Saturday Night series. We are currently on the July 5th edition of said program and of 1992. Also, if you're looking for business, life, relationship, or entertainment coaching, would love to be of service to you in those areas. And you can go over to the Golden Opportunities Coaching page for that information. Ultimately, here, the WCW program, they're moving towards the Great American Bash, which is Great American Bash 92, one of my favorite all-time pay-per-views. I actually love all of 1992. I know a lot of people don't, but 1992 is one of my guilty pleasure favorite years for WCW. I like 92, 93, and the half of 94 before Hogan enters. And then, honestly, I don't like main events in WCW ever again. I know a lot of people are NWO fans. I'm not. Anyway, Ron Simmons is co-hosting for at least a good bit of this particular program. And, Simmons is a guy that, understandably, is a guy who kind of wants to get in there. And then we go to Big Josh and his tag team partner against Greg Valentine and ultimately Terry Taylor, I believe. But Big Josh, of course, a guy who they really haven't done a heck of a lot with in the last little while. And certainly, kind of seeing the brawling there. Bagwell is the babyface partner, and again, that's a little different, a little weird. Dick Slater is Valentine's partner. Slater comes in, I think, because Bill Watts likes him. I don't think he comes in for any other reason. Valentine has been heavily featured in this part of 1992. Not something I remember as a child, although I was just getting into WCW at this point because we would get cable probably about a month or two after this. Probably in July, definitely by August, because I remember the first pay-per-view that I didn't have to go to my grandmother's for was SummerSlam 92 from Wembley Stadium. So certainly, right around this time, getting access to cable. Anyway, Bagwell comes in and does some pretty basic stuff, doesn't need to do a heck of a lot, and manages to do everything he can to get things going in his proper right direction. Then we kind of see a roll up, and Slater and Bagwell have what feels like an awkward exchange. Maybe it's just because Slater's smoother and Bagwell's a little awkward. Bagwell, of course, only having a couple of years' experience at most, comes in, and there's good switching by the heels as Slater takes Bagwell for the next several minutes, chops him down. Bagwell always comes back with some degree of response, although Slater manages to work his leg with both, step over toe holds, Indian deathlocks, all sorts of stuff. And I think the idea behind this match in total is to get Bagwell as much ring time as they possibly can. He takes punishment for a good 4 or 5 minutes, including but not limited to a pile driver by Slater. And Big Josh waiting rather expectantly for the hot tag, and finally does get it. About maybe 9 minutes into the program, and this is one of the 90-minute programs. Bagwell, though, does get beat up and back suplexes. Josh has had enough of the treatment of his partner. He's in there and unhappy and all of that good stuff. A big pile driver, and ultimately kind of sets that down, and a near fault there, and actually finally the team of Slater and Valentine do get the victory. Steiner Brothers are up next, another hard-hitting tag team in an enhancement match here. Rick and Scott moving more towards their destiny as tag team champions. both throughout Japan over the next few years and in WCW. Buddy Lee Parker, one of the enhancement talents, and Scott takes him down relatively easy. Of course, Parker, a guy who, I don't know, you might say is an enhancement talent, but ends up being one of the most important people in WCW history in the sense that he runs the power plant. Bow and arrow by Scott Steiner, which is a weird move for him, but at the same time it works, so it can't be that weird. Tag into Rick. Rick tries to use power and aggression a bit more than average. The other enhancement talent tags in. I did not catch his name, or at least I didn't write it down here. Steiner line, and it's no fun to be that particular talent. Steiner, Rick, that is, sends his opponent in again with a series of deals, and then Clothesline managed to get things done. Frankensteiner finishes off Buddy Lee Parker, and away we go. Steiners are talking about being multi-level tag teams. Champions wanting to take on any champs that come in. They have, I believe at this point, picked up the International IWGP Championships. Cactus Jack, a couple of weeks after his Beach Blast run here, making his way out. And again, he wasn't supposed to be here long. The Italian Stallion is the opponent of Cactus Jack. Of course, Stallion most known for breaking in guys like Hurricane Helms and Jeff and Matt Hardy and getting them opportunities. Jack comes up, hits a bunch of kicks, and actually does a baseball slide drop kick, sending his opponent to the outside of the ring. This 92-93 time is amazing to me. Cactus Jack hits the somersault dive off the apron and a double arm DDT. Jack gets a victory, and off we go. Cactus Jack says he's going to eventually get rid of Ricky Steamboat. He's been hired to do so, and he plans to do exactly that. And so, speaking of Ricky Steamboat, apparently since he's mentioned in a match or a promo prior, he makes his way out and has an enhancement match with Bob Cook. This is an enhancement heavy version of WCW Saturday Night, to say the very least. Cook is I believe, Florida native, down South Georgia, Florida. Pretty sure it's Florida, though. And manages to do quite well. Steamboat with a series of kicks, side headlock takeover, and the like, and ultimately gets things going in that general direction. In any event, the nature of things there is basically pretty simple. Cook gets a few punches and kicks, but really weak stuff. Enough offense to make you think maybe he's going to mount a series of offensive maneuvers, but not enough to make you think he's going to win unless you're about 9. Anyway, back chops or martial arts chops by Steamboat. Steamboat does eventually get the victory here, who actually wins with martial arts chops, which is a really weird thing when you're used to seeing a guy like Steamboat manage to go at his adversary with more reckless abandon, so to speak. And Brad Armstrong in an enhancement match here. I didn't write down the name of the enhancement guy. Anyway, Armstrong, of course, your light heavyweight champion for this time period. Brad Armstrong, of course, a big deal in Georgia and the South. Doesn't really translate here in WCW on a national level. Struggles for several years to be that guy, having most of his best run in the Georgia area in a I guess, driven way, or whatever the case may be. Anyhow, again, Steamboat coming off the feud with the Dangerous Alliance, predominantly Rick Rude, some Steve Austin, but going into something a little bit more defined with Cactus Jack, although he does come back to Austin in the weeks and months to come. And those matches, of course, are amazing over the next 3 years, actually. Or 2 years, anyway. I think Steamboat's final match, it had to be 94 because it was before the Nitro run. Then we go back to another match, as mentioned, Brad Armstrong Your former light heavyweight champion, a guy who is underrated. Pat Rose, another Florida indie guy. A lot of Florida guys, but again, Dusty Rhodes, I think, involved in the booking, at least maybe even the booker at the time, manages to do some good stuff. Uh, you know, armbar takedown and the like, and ultimately, we see that, in fact, Armstrong takes the arm. Really basic match. Nothing to write home about. Honestly, about a third of the way through this particular WCW Saturday night, I can see where people would be uninspired or unexcited by this. But at the same time, if you enjoy actual wrestling and not the bump, 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 spot, spot, spot stuff, this is definitely that. Fireman's Carry takeover by Armstrong. Armstrong stays on the arm for the next several minutes and continues to work the arm, grabs the hold and stays there for a good bit. Then they promote some house shows in mainly the Georgia, Carolinas area, which is the original stomping grounds of the Crockett Promotions folks. It's always interesting to me that WCW really doesn't expand until the Nitro era, but a lot of people don't realize that. They make forays into the Northeast and other areas of the country, but they're never consistent. Back body drop by Armstrong, who manages to come in, hits the side Russian leg sweep with the float over. Probably the best side Russian leg sweep available out there, at least in my opinion anyway. And then we move to Michael Hayes in the ring. Michael Hayes, of course, is a free bird, and everybody, well, lots of people enjoy the free birds. We kind of move forward. Of course, the U.S. Tag Team title is going to be abolished here. Lots of people uncomfortable with that because of the nature of things. World TV champion, stunning Steve Austin. Austin at this time, one of the better guys in wrestling, and I know a lot of people say obviously he's the biggest guy in wrestling history, but I love his Dallas and WCW and ECW stuff. His early WWF stuff up to the neck injury in '97 I enjoy, but he's not that big a deal. Believe it's Van Hammer that he's in there with, or JT Southern. No, Michael Hayes is indeed correct. What's interesting is the copy of this I'm watching is rather blurry, and if you look at the guys from the side, they look very similar. Anyway, Hayes takes Austin and holds on to him for a bit. Hip lock takeover. Austin again with the television championship. I think at this point, the multi-time champion, and then Hayes goes back to the arm with the sidearm takeover and hard shots there. Austin slides over and gets a 2 count. Ultimately, manages to get things going, and Austin holds the man down, and away we go there. And again, the continued Irish whip and punches along the way. Austin manages a series of shots, actually. And needless to say that Hayes comes back, hits a couple of shots, and goes for the DDT, but Austin able to backdrop his way out of that. This is probably the best match of the show thus far. Austin talks about wanting to take on Barry Windham, being able to beat him in 5 minutes, etc. and so forth. Austin gets the stun gun and gets the victory before having that interview, and obviously continues to be successful here. Then we see, some continuing nature to previous matches here, which I don't necessarily like the overlay of previous matches. Just not my thing. But anyway, WCW was prone to do that and kind of became a bigger thing. Lots of complaining on the outside because Austin is not happy with what's going on. Bill Watts comes in and gets involved in the dispensal of that match, challenged by Barry Windham. Windham hangs with Austin for a few minutes, but there's no actual referee, so none of it matters. Basically, it's a brawl around, and Windham looks to be victorious, although it's not an actual match. Needless to say, Paul Heyman, aka Paulie Dangerously, very upset with the way his TV champion is portrayed, handled, treated, and all that good stuff. Then we go to a continuation of the Barbarian in a squash match. Barbarian ends up challenging for the World Championship at Starrcade 92 in December. I don't know that that was the original plan by far. Goes to town on the enhancement talent, manages to get a kick to him and a suplex. Of course, the Barbarian as a single, not nearly as impressive as he is as a tag guy, but obviously you don't always have the option to have him as a tag. Hanging suplex by the Barbarian, and again, he is ultimately, you know, hits a couple of hard shots, and again, 1, 2, and 3. Managing things there. Valentine is out, and he is talking about the nature of, his continual winning streaks. We see the return of Bobby Eaton here. Bobby Eaton, of course, a member of the Dangerous Alliance, and Eaton is a guy who you can get a good match out of Bobby Eaton just about anywhere. He backs his opponent into the ring here, and I think this is again Z-Man Tom Zink, and Eaton and Zink basically do have a good match, going back and forth a good bit here. Several minutes of just basic headlocks, arm locks, hammer locks. The babyface doing significantly better than would be expected. Eaton does a lot of backward motion here. Finally hits a cheap shot or two and breaks free of the arm work, and finally gets the victory after a high German suplex with a bridge. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. Anyway, we migrate into more matches with just about something like a 20 something amount left, and it's a highlight of the Steiners and the team of Doc and Gordy. Because the match is joined in progress, really won't touch on that too much, and plus they only show about 2 minutes of it anyway. Doc and Gordy say they are the most damaging tag team in the WCW or anywhere in the world. They also go on to be, in fact, the tag team champions in Japan for a bit, if I remember correctly. So certainly, that Japanese harder style, pretty big deal. Gordy goes in and has a singles match with Larry Santo and grinds him into the canvas. I mean, it's pretty aggressive. He's going right at him. Tries to choke, tries to punch, kick, poke, and away we go. Santo doesn't really get that much offense. Gets enough to rile things up just a bit, but obviously the former Freebird eats his opponent alive. Not really sure why they went Doc and Gordy instead of Hayes and Gordy post this, but Gordy manages to get quick victory. Bill Watts basically endorses this whole thing, says this is the type of wrestling he greatly enjoys, etc. and so forth. Simple stuff. Back leg trip by Gordy, and away we go. Then we hear complaining from Dick Slater and the Barbarian. The kind of tease there being a little bit of an alliance between them. I don't know that this goes on more than a month, if that, but it's there. Then there's highlights from Worldwide Wrestling, confrontation between Rick Rude and Nikita Koloff. And there's a brawl between them two. Nothing really comes of it, but Medusa does get thrown out of the way, which is not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. We come back to, I guess you'd call it live action and or first run action for the Saturday night program. And, after all of the chaos there, with about 15 minutes left, Nikita Koloff and Tracy Smothers do battle for a good bit here. Smothers makes Nikita look like $1,000,000. Not that Nikita needs help. Obviously, Nikita through the late 80s was a major talent until his wife ends up needing surgery for, I believe it was breast cancer, might have been stomach, but certainly cancer of some jurisdiction. And we see Koloff try desperately to take his opponent down, keep him there. Takes him down with go behinds and basic stuff there. Hard shots by Koloff, and again, does everything he can to get things going and hooks him with the top wrist lock, and again, that is there. It's, kind of sort of hooked up and ready to go. Anyway, some Irish whips and blocks of hip tosses and the like. The nature of everything is ultimately Koloff with the side headlock takeover finally hold him down for a good bit of minutes, and Koloff comes back with a shoulder tackle, gets some extra power behind it, and sends his guy flying. Also the Russian sickle, 1, 2, 3, away we go. Sting cuts promo, Sting basically talking about Vader and having some reverential fear of Vader, but being ready to bring it come the Great American Bash, where they're going to do battle U.S. Heavyweight Champion Rick Rude in your main event of the day. About 7 matches left in the program, and Rude insinuates that Koloff doesn't know how to handle his business. Rude is in phenomenal shape here. Rick Rude at this point is a guy that I greatly enjoyed watching in '92 through his untimely career-ending injury in 1994. We kind of see continuation. I mean, I wonder what Rude would have done in the Monday Night War as a wrestler. That is always kind of I've had fun with that as a thought, just because it's interesting and could be unique. And Rude's opponent kind of makes his way out. Jimmy Jam Garvin, a bit of a baby face here. I think he had turned with Michael Hayes, although they turned back by 1994, so it's short-term turn. Rude wears down on Garvin pretty assertively, aggressively, and works the arm for a couple of minutes. Rude tries to do as much brawling as he can. Rude then manages to do a bunch of backbreakers and the like, and ultimately, gets things going that way. Hard shots by Rude, and again, kind of going at it where he can, and a leg drop by Rude, and finally hits the neck breaker, gets the pinfall, 1, 2, 3, and that is the end of that particular contest. Again, we have good stuff there. Can't believe it took 20-some minutes to get through all that, but a lot of wrestling on that show. It's not much of it good, but anyway, we'll be back with at least one more of these tonight. Till next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.